and we are going to talk about the last game that was actually the first game of the divisional round. And let's begin here. Uh, yeah, let's hear from Joe Mixon. He actually had some comments, obviously, on that game. I want to hear from him quickly, and then we can proceed to answer the question.
Everybody know how it is playing up here. You can't, you can never leave, you can never leave it into the refs' hands. But I mean, the whole world see, man, like what it is, bro. But it is what it is. You know, like I said, when it come down to it, you can't never leave it into the refs' hands, man, and things like that. But it's all good though.
Yeah, dance, ref, dance. Okay, because you did your job. You did your job on Saturday night, bro. Okay, dance. Right when the Chiefs need to make a call, they need a call in their favor. Dance, referee. You coming? Reporting for duty. Active. I'm here to serve you, Mahomes. I'm here to serve you, Andy Reid. Okay, I'm here to serve you, Roger Goodell. Folks, I am not gonna hold back no punches here. Let's begin. DeMeco Ryans, I feel your pain, bro. Okay, Joe Mixon, I feel your pain, bro. Okay, and look, one of the things that teams can't control, right, when playing the Chiefs is not allowing their emotions to get the best of them. And you know, to each his own. I would say that the Ravens were too emotional back then last year in the AFC Championship game. The Texans were too emotional to begin this game. You know, you had teammates pushing their assistant coaches and all that. Chris Boyd tossing his helmet, one of the players shoving, like I said, his coaches on the sideline. And Travis Kelce, you know, he is a Hall of Famer and he's wide open, right? So yeah, sure. I know the naysayers will come and say, well, the Texans did this and the Texans did that, and he should have had done that. I get it, but that's not the point. Let's look at these penalties on the Texans. Okay, these terrible penalties. Houston edge rusher Will Anderson Jr. was called for roughing the passer on third down in the first quarter. Okay, that wasn't a flag. Okay, that flag extended the drive and it ended with 3 points, right? I want to play this clip real quickly here because I want y'all to see this visually. I don't want y'all to think I'm just talking here. Okay, so let's bring up this clip right now as we are watching it. Okay, Stevie Wonder. Let's look at this. Okay, that is not a helmet to helmet. Anybody with eyes know that's not a helmet to helmet. Okay, that's a bad call. I want y'all to keep note of this, right? Because I was texting my cousin throughout the whole thing. Clear and obvious bad penalty. Then you had a clear and obvious hip drop tackle that was not called, that would have stalled the drive, right? Mahomes scrambled in the third quarter, had 2 blockers on the run, and I believe 3 defenders were bearing down on him. He moved his right hand or whatever, and he began to slide, and then they got called for unnecessary roughness as well, and that penalty allowed Kansas City to go up the field and drive, resulted in a touchdown. Now, there were more bad calls there, right? Clearly more bad calls. But the unfortunate part about what we are witnessing right now is that a lot of people, their attentions are diluted in other areas and ignoring the evidence of what's really going on here. You got some people like Richard Sherman who has his own agenda, a former defensive player in the NFL looking at what the league is becoming. He's looking at this from a lens of a defensive player, which is, you know, the game is softer. You know, defensive players are at a disadvantage. That's his agenda. You have other bad calls in other games over the weekend, and now other people's agenda is maybe the referees are just bad in general. No, folks. No. Don't allow those little true things to dilute the main problem that we have, which is on Saturday night, I witnessed a live robbery on live television. Okay. And listen, Zach asked me this question after the Raiders game, And I answered it, but I wasn't firm. I wasn't sure in my mind. He asked me, do I believe that Roger Goodell was actually rigging games for the Kansas City Chiefs? And I told him, I don't know, but it seems like a call is being made for Mahomes to get certain calls that other players don't get. And that's what I told him, but I wasn't firm on it. After this weekend, okay, I'm here to come back to Zach and say with my chest, I do believe that the fix was made. Okay, just like in the NBA, when you had a former referee go on a podcast after he lost his job and said that, yeah, we were told to give certain players calls. Okay, that exposed everything to me. All right, look at this game. This game broke a record, the most watched game in the NFL conference divisional weekend in history. They also broke a record, the same team the Chiefs did in week 2 against the Bengals, most watch as well. We all know that they're making the NFL a lot of money. We all know that the NFL wants this team to three-peat. I already see it. I don't need to debate anything no more. I already know what's going to happen. Okay, they're going to win the championship because the referees are going to do whatever they need to do to make sure they win the championship. What's the girl name that be in the press box? Swift. Yeah, Taylor Swift is going to be proposed to by Travis Kelce. Okay, they hyping that up on the low, and folks, we're gonna get conned. Okay, it's unfortunate that I had a reality that hit me while I was watching this weekend. I still try to put it to the side, enjoy the rest of the playoffs, you know, and I did as a football fan. But it's becoming obvious that the referees are on the cheap side, and I think DeMeco Ryans as a head coach, although it may look bad as a leader of men, you blaming the referees when you had opportunities, you know, your team had opportunities to negate some of that effect, but it's true.
So my issue with DeMeco Ryans, Will Anderson, and Joe Mixon blaming the refs is you are the leaders of this team. You are supposed to set the tone that excuses should not be made. And that's exactly what they did. So if they're going to complain about it, I feel like other guys below them in that locker room are going to complain about it. And now all of a sudden, going into next season, that feeling is contagious. And when it comes to the referees, I actually thought the first call was the right call. Now, is it a soft call? Sure. But some helmet-to-helmet contact was made, and we've seen it many times throughout the years in the NFL. These roughing the passer penalties are just soft. And the number one goal for the league is to protect the quarterback. And that's what we saw on Saturday. Now, the second call, I didn't agree with it. I didn't think it was a great call, but it was a first down play. So if that's an incomplete pass, it's 2nd and 6, and the Chiefs might have gotten that first down regardless. So I feel like when you look at this game, the referees were not the reason why the Chiefs won. The reason why the Chiefs won was because the Texans missed 3 field goals. It was because CJ Stroud was sacked 8 times. It's because the Texans did not cover Travis Kelce. They kept on leaving him open and open and open. They had a player push a coach on the sideline. They went into Arrowhead Stadium and scored 1 touchdown. And the Chiefs continue to just avoid the mistake. They never beat themselves. And that's what's so frustrating when you play against them. That's why they've been winning all of these big games. And when you look at this one, I just feel like, refs or not, Houston did not make enough plays to win. That's the reality. And it comes off as excuse making to me when you're leaders. I can understand a low-level player complaining about the refs. He's not a huge voice in that building, but when you have your head coach, when you have guys like Joe Mixon and Will Anderson, leaders of your team, complaining about the refs, that's a bad look. I feel like when it comes to complaining about the refs, that is the free space in excuse-making bingo card. And that's exactly what Houston did coming out of this game. They didn't make enough plays to win this game. They didn't play well enough to win this game. And I feel like maybe Buffalo could. If Buffalo could execute the same game plan that they did against Baltimore on Sunday, it's going to be a close game, and it's going to be anyone's to take late. But from the beginning of that game, when Houston gave up the kick return inside their 20-yard line, they couldn't get the job done from there. And when it comes to the referees, was there maybe a bad call here and there? Sure, but there are bad calls in every game, and I don't think the referees are at all the reason why Kansas City ended up winning this game. It comes off as excuse-making to me. It really does.
I think that's the problem right there because we say that every time the Chiefs win, but then we see the crucial calls that happen. And I say this all the time. The NFL this year was just a complete ridiculousness of just undisciplined football, right? And if we're gonna say, all right, well, the refs are cheating for the Chiefs in X, Y, and Z, we have to explain it from a player's perspective that they just been undisciplined all year, right? They just not have been playing or keeping up to date with how to play defense or how to play the game the right way in modern day football because everything is going back to the early 2000s with the overly aggressive holding the jerseys while while the ball's in the sky or trying to rip the offensive line or defensive line down. Like there's a lot of undisciplined football being played this year. And I think, DeMeco Ryans blaming the refs is a bad look, not on the team, but in the NFL. Because the NFL has had a referee issue for the last couple years, not just with the Chiefs winning, but the last couple years, there's been a lot of calls the refs miss. That's been brought bright as day. But I think that's the big issue because refereeing is the most difficult job in America. It's not easy to call these plays on a daily basis. But as a fan, you want to see the game called down the line, and it doesn't seem like that every time we see the Chiefs play because they are the benefactors of the call each and every time late in the game, which is where a lot of people state the refs are cheating for this Chiefs team, and it's just at this point, when is enough enough?
Yeah. The reality is, I've seen it too many times, and I was watching football when Tom Brady was in his prime. You know, winning, and I was a Tom Brady fan, and I know we got calls. I be the first one to tell you we got calls, right? I never hide and shied away from that. We did. Now this right here, this tops that. This is whole level to an extent, and I did hint at it in my first lap that these football teams got to do a better job of managing their emotions. But there's a conundrum. The game is a passionate game, right? You're going into Mahomes building and you got to play with passion. Football is a rough sport. So when you can't hit the quarterback, you might as well tell me I can't hit the quarterback at all. Now, how am I supposed to play as a defender when I can't crack somebody? Like, what am I doing out here? Especially the defensive line. Like, forget about the secondary because you could do more. You can intercept the ball, you could tackle. But if I'm a defensive line and I can't crack the quarterback, why am I trying to get to the quarterback? I don't get it. Like, make the math make sense to me. If I can't crack the quarterback, then why am I trying to get to the quarterback? So I don't get it. I don't understand what type of reflexes that Roger Goodell, want these players to have. But I'm not even going to buy into that. I know what I know. I know what my opinion, I know what I really feel in my opinion based off what I've been seeing consistently, which is the Chiefs getting certain calls. But once again, what Buffalo is going to have to do in order to win in a hostile environment, with their hands tied, is they're going to have to be as disciplined as possible. Okay, and that's something that Sean McDermott is going to have to coach this whole entire week because we saw Zay Flowers and company in the Ravens last year. It happened to them, right? They allowed the referees to get really antsy with that flag, with that yellow, right? We've seen it in this Texans game. They're going to throw it because it's the Chiefs. We know that. They're going to throw it. They're going to get calls. And anybody who's not saying that they don't get calls, favorable calls, is either two things, ignorant or stubborn. They are getting calls, and we just got to be honest about that. Whether or not we think it's premeditated or not, whether or not we think it's coming from the higher ups or Roger Goodell or not, we do have to come to the realization that they are getting certain calls. And teams got to do a better job of managing their emotions. Like Jamar Chase, you remember when he took out his helmet, I think it was, or I think he took off his helmet or whatever because of a bad call, and that allowed, the flag to be thrown this year, and the Chiefs won that game. That was a pivotal play. Teams got to manage their emotions. Yes, the referees are going to be on their side, but you got to go and play your football and control what you can, which is how you look out there on the football field. So we'll see what happens.
I think you brought up some valid points when it comes to, the defensive linemen and being unable to hit the quarterbacks, but I feel like that's a league problem that in this game, the Chiefs just happened to benefit from. And I think a rule adjustment should be made when it comes to the quarterback slide. Mahomes kind of baited the Texans defender into doing that on the second flag, but we've seen Kenny Pickett do that in college too. Like, the smart quarterbacks are able to take advantage of the rules, and until the league adjusts to that, they're going to continue to do that. And when it comes to referees, look, even dating back to that very controversial Rams-Saints NFC Championship game, which is the most famous missed blown call of all time, that was a terrible call, and the Saints got screwed in that game. But I don't think that's an excuse for them, because they had plenty of other opportunities to win that game, and they weren't able to take advantage of it. They weren't able to take advantage of the things that they were able to control, just like Houston couldn't do on Saturday. And when you get sacked 8 times, when you score 1 touchdown, you're not going to win an Arrowhead, and that's the bottom line.
Yeah, responding to my guy, Kenny, I agree mostly. Dynasties do get calls. I've seen it. And this is not only the NFL here. This is NBA as well. This is Jordan time. This happens, okay? Like, I've seen it even in the even recently in the NBA. Even, I'm not talking about recently, but like a couple years ago, maybe 5-6 years ago, timeline with Draymond Green and LeBron, and how Draymond got suspended. That to me was a fix. I don't care what nobody say. That was a fix. I believe LeBron was stepping over Draymond, and Draymond, I guess he got up, and that was a fix. Okay, that was like, listen, it's 3-1. We need to make this series go longer, and that made a whole lot change. Obviously, we all know what happened with the Cleveland Cavaliers down 3-1. They came back and won that series. So I know this goes on. Like, I feel it. Like, I can see it. Like, I have a good discernment spirit. Like, I can put 2 and 2 together and get 4. So it happens. I agree with Kenny there. However, what I saw Saturday, to me, it just felt more blatant. It really felt like a call was made. I'm just going off an opinion based on what I saw and how it felt. Like, it was just yellow all over, and the Texans were getting dusted and shafted with those decisions. And to me, that was something that I did not want to see in that high-profile game with that many people viewing. Obviously, the numbers, to me, that wasn't a good look. So I hope that this weekend we don't have a similar situation, because it's going to take away from the actual game itself.